mystic. Whole squad locked in, we go ballistic. Game time grind, it's a takeover. Whistle get blown, we break the quota. From the first hot take to the closer. This our season now. Move over. Clock hit zero, that's pre-show pressure. 3 deep crew, that full court measure. I lead a Persian, flame on the mic, breaking down plays like he called that hike. Steve with the stats, the ice in the vein. Sees every route, every yard, every lane. Mr. calling future, seeing through smoke. Predictions hit hard like a safety stroke. Game time grind, it's a takeover. Run, let's go up, lights run colder. I lead the Persian, Steve and Mystic. Whole squad locked in, we go ballistic. Game time grind, it's a takeover. Whistle get blown, we break the quota. From the first hot take to the closer. This our season now. Move over. Line 'em up, who on heat? Who on heat? Saturday legends on the midweek scene. Who on heat? Kick off, talk till the sun goes down. New kings here, that's a title bout. Game time grind, it's a takeover. Run, let's go up, lights run colder. I lead the Persian, Steve and Mystic. Whole squad locked in, we go ballistic. Game time grind, it's a takeover. Whistle get blown, we break the quota. Game time grind, say the name louder. This our season now. Full power.
Good morning, good day, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Game Time Grind. I'm your host, Ali the Persian. We got Steve and Mystic up here. And shout out to all you folks watching our exclusive videos here at 4th and 10U. You can expect those pretty much on the weekly, as much as we possibly can. Check out some of our other videos. I know we had a Texas breakdown recently that was really good. Check out that show. We did the Hurricanes and many other teams that we've broken down. Most recently on Tuesday, we broke down Oregon. Check them out. They have an offense that could compete in the Big Ten. So definitely check it. But we're going to switch gears tonight. We're going to talk about the SEC Ole Miss. That is right. We're going to be talking about the Rebels, or whatever they are now, that maybe they're called the Land Sharks, or whatever they're called now, because they keep changing their mascot. I don't know if you guys ever looked into that, but they've changed it several times over the years. It is going to be very interesting. We're going to definitely talk about them in the Lane Kiffin-less era and what to expect. We're going to break them down. But I want you to start by hitting the like button, right? Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're brand new. Do me a favor. Go to your neighbor's house. Maybe you got friends that love college football. Tell them about Game Time Grind here at 4th and 10U, right? Make sure they subscribe. Turn on the notification bell. Shout out to you. We wouldn't be here without you guys. We love you guys. So definitely we're trying to grow the channel and grow the community. So definitely thank you very much. What is up, Steve and Mystic? How is everything?
Oh, everything is good. Everything is good over here. Just enjoying the wonderful evening and ready to talk some Ole Miss. You're right. It's going to be a nice change of pace, if you will.
Yeah, I can see Mystic. He's a hard at work, handyman, working at different housing and for different clients. He comes home and he wants to put himself together an old fashioned and just sit back and talk some good old fashioned football. So I can see that happening. What up, Steve? What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Well, see, he might like an old fashioned, but like a true Floridian, I need some citrus in my life. Let me get some of that vodka and orange juice. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's talking about doing some screwdrivers. I bet you I can drink more screwdrivers than you can.
Probably, but hey, I'm trying to get. I'm trying to enjoy it. I'm not trying to get lit on it. You know what I mean?
See, for me, no offense to you, Steve. screwdriver is kind of a girly drink, to be honest. For me, I gotta have myself a cup of tequila. And yes, I said cup, right? Give me some Patron, give me some Jose 1800, Don Julio and stuff, which I forgot to mention when I was at the World Cup game last week at SoFi Stadium. The night before was the US game. And at the US game, I was at this nightclub, and I guess there was vendors from different liquor companies there, like like Don Julio's there, name a vodka company like like Sky Vodka or someplace like that, right? And they had these soccer scarves. I don't know if you know in soccer, like wearing the scarves of your team is like a thing, right? Yeah. I got myself a really nice, really high quality Don Julio scarf, soccer scarf. So I thought it was freaking awesome, bro.
That's
And yeah. And I did some shots of tequila while I was there too. It was good stuff. But yeah, I gotta drink tequila, man. That's my go-to liquor. Be straightforward. A lot of people have tried me when it comes to drinking liquor, especially tequila, and I've always outdrank them. I don't know why. It's like water to me, to be honest. My liver is probably like yelling at me when I say that, but that's how I feel. Some big news in college football. Do we want to get into that, or do you guys have anything else before we get this started?
Don't worry, guys. It's not an Ohio State podcast. We promise. Oh, go ahead, Ali.
Hey, I wasn't even going to kick that off. I was going to let Steve talk it away about UM. UM had some signings today.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yes, they did.
Take it away, Steve.
Damn, I wasn't prepared. 1 second. I just want to get the names correct. It's a good thing I remember who I sent it to. So UM today came out swinging with their new commits. They got the number one quarterback in the 2029 class, Cypher, who was on the final decisions between UM and Ohio State, and decided to commit to UM, as well as in the 2028 class, a four-star offensive tackle, Kaweli Fieldler, committed to Miami as well. He was a top 5 offensive tackle in that class. Mario continues to show his strength among all strengths recruitment.
Absolutely. I think that's a huge pickup. Very, very interesting for UM. I've been one of the people that's been arguing that I think UM needs to start developing their own rather than diving into the transfer market and trying to pick up a one-year wonder. I get why you do it, because you want to win as much as you can with the talent you have. I understand the whole premise, but you got a guy named Coleman that had, a lot of people had some really good things about. You've been really good in recruiting, and now you have one of the number one quarterbacks. You got to start developing in-house. That's just my opinion. But yeah, any thoughts on that, Mystic?
That's been my thing the whole time. But it's like unfortunately, that's the kind of era that college football is in right now, with this whole transfer window and people being able to move so much. Like, it's just going to open up the ability to just go, pick up good talent across the league. However you want to say it, landscape, whatever. These coaches are going to go be able to pluck more often than not, instead of have to develop the way they used to. I don't know if that sets up a lesser product at the next level, but I don't know. But I don't always like it. Sometimes I understand it. Quick fixes are good, but why don't we get back to like long sustained, you're building this up the right way type of thing. But that also go back to the money. Like it's there's so much to both sides,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's a lot to both sides of the argument. I just, the more and more that the NCAA is kind of semi-professional at this point, right? We can agree that a lot of these kids are getting NIL money that's almost like NFL contracts. They pretty much are NFL contract money 100%. At this point. So at that point, and you have free agency, which is the transfer portal, basically, right? When you have that, why not start developing who you have in-house? And the reason I say that is it's going to save you NIL money, right? Granted, some players will try to push the button and say, well, I'm going to transfer because I can get better money elsewhere. Okay, that's fine. But think about the less money you have to invest in recruiting, right? And maybe you can get him at a good NIL deal that makes sense for both of you. You know what I mean? I just think it's cheaper to keep what you have versus going into that the transfer portal every year. I think it would be cheaper financially.
Since we're getting into this situation, I just want to say one more thing. Sorry, Steve, before I forget. Since we have this whole act thing for college football and we're trying to talk about things of, making it better, however you want to look at it, why don't we put in something in there, like an incentive to make these guys want to stay loyal to these teams? If, 2 years into your 4 years, you've proven to be, better than what you're originally valued at, then yeah, maybe you can like renegotiate what your NIL money is to stay there instead of using your transfer window to leave, right? I think that'd be beneficial to the league as a whole, but that was just a thought I had. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I was going to segue off of that if I could to one more piece of news I have. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, or we're going to talk about it. Brian Kelly.
Oh God, you took my thunder. No, it's okay. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead with it.
Well, I was going to segue. Speaking of spending a crap ton of money on somebody for them to go somewhere else, Brian Kelly, after getting fired by LSU and walking off with $54 million in buyout money, is joining Mountain West and will be a part of a 3-man call crew for Mountain West games this year.
That is true. Isn't that through a certain network?
Hilarious.
He's going to be a commentator for a certain network, I think, isn't he?
I don't know what network. If Front Office Sports is who reported it, I don't know if that's the site he'll be calling it on or not. I don't know what that is, but
One second. Let me look it up because I know he is CBS. It's for
CBS.
It actually, he's going to call CBS college football games. Actually, it doesn't say Mountain West specifically. Let me see what it says. After being fired from LSU, he's expected to step away from coaching temporarily and call. Oh, it is Mountain West games. You're right.
Yeah, Mountain West. Yeah, I was going to say I'm on 3, and on 3 saying he'll be a color analyst mostly. So let's use that word, mostly calling Mountain West games. So he could be calling others. We don't know yet.
Yeah, but it is through the CBS network, though. That's who they use. Very interesting. I think that's great. Great for him.
So he's joining Charles. He'll be with Gary Danielson and Brad Nessler on the Big Ten games on the network.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I do have some news. And as Mystic mentioned, this is not an Ohio State podcast. No, it's not. I know that's like a running joke because I'm a big fan. So obviously I'm going to talk about them. But I got to talk about wide receiver U when I can, right? The man, the myth, the legend, Jeremiah Smith has been called and has been announced as the first overall, first 99 grade overall player in the new college football game, College Football 27. And I am excited for that. Shout out to Jeremiah Smith. This is his year, man. This is the year that he's going to go all out and drive himself into the next draft. It's going to be very, very interesting. Real quick, I want to share a picture, though. This is a picture of Jeremiah Smith recently in the gym. And holy fuck. Look at that man's arms, bro. There's only one guy that I knew coming out of college, actually, when he joined the NFL, that had arms that big at wide receiver. Do you guys remember David Boston? David Boston, he was out of Ohio State. He ended up playing for the Chargers, I believe. No, he was with Arizona, then the Chargers, maybe. And then he eventually became a Dolphin for a hot minute, if you remember that. He had big arms like that, right?
But wasn't DK Metcalf like this too?
DK Metcalf was ripped. Yes, that is true. You are right about that. But I don't know, man. I
mean, that's what I see when I see his arms. I mean, he reminds me of like just looking at this picture without seeing his face. He's like a combo of like Marvin Harrison Jr. and like DK physique wise.
That is true, but I will tell you this though. In my opinion, and you guys can argue till you're blue in the face with me, Jeremiah Smith is 10 times better wide receiver than DK Metcalf was. And DK Metcalf was really good in college for Ole Miss. Don't get me wrong. But I just think that Jeremiah Smith is the real deal. I don't care how you try to spin it to me. I'm going to disagree with you that if you try to say he's not. So that's just my opinion. What other news do we have? Do you have any news, Mystic?
No, nothing really. I mean, if we're giving out college football rankings, I mean that college, they're the next big tight end I told you guys about out of tight end U in Iowa. Is fifth ranked tight end in the game as well. So I think that's pretty cool. So we'll see. By the time it's all said and done, he'll be the number one in the game. After it's all said and done, they update it, right? So we'll see. We'll see. Oh.
Absolutely. I mean, I know your team is known as tight end U, and I'm not going to argue that because they are. But wide receiver U, I mentioned it on Tuesday's show. We have Austin Miller, 6'5". Make sure there's a correction there. 6'5", 200 pounds, and he's not even hit college football yet. Holy crap. I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
wide receiver. And in addition, another thing that is starting to be reported, and this is just being reported, I'm not saying this is official or anything like that, just telling you what my Twitter feed is reporting to me. Jet Harrison, the brother of Marvin Harrison, who's a 5-star wide receiver, is supposed to land at Ohio State as well. So another big-time wide receiver star. It seems to be the landing spot for everybody. Very, very interesting, but that's some news that I'm starting to get as well. That's being speculated that they're expecting.
Follow-up news of something that we talked about on last Tuesday's show.
Go for it.
So remember we brought up the new NCAA rules with the new eligibility model where you get 5 seasons within 5 years of eligibility. 15 college basketball players have filed a lawsuit since the change was filed.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on and see if any news comes out of that. I know we're predominantly college football, but this rule affects more than just football players. So 15 college basketball players have filed a lawsuit since the changing of the rule.
Very interesting. I also have some news on top of it. This actually affects certain teams that were not originally allowed to play in bowl games. Get ready for this. So the NCAA, this was 3 hours ago, got reported by On3. The NCAA votes to eliminate bowl transition penalties. The NCAA cabinet has voted to eliminate the bowl transition penalty, paving a way for teams like North Dakota State and Sacramento State to be eligible to play in bowl games immediately in 2026. Sources tell On3 previously the NCAA had 2-year transition penalty prohibiting participating in bowl games that moved from the FCS to the FBS. So basically, if you were in the FCS previously and you moved to the FBS, you weren't able to play a bowl game for like 2 seasons. Right. Well, North Dakota State and Sacramento State will need to finish with a 6-6 record or better and can fulfill one of their conference bowl commitments. In March, the FBS Oversight Committee recommended the elimination of the 2-year penalty and prohibitionary period. Very exciting news if you're a North Dakota State or a Sacramento State fan. I think that's great, especially for North Dakota State. North Dakota State's been in the news on and off over the last couple of years. They've been really good in the FCS, and they've had NFL talent come from them. I'm kind of excited to see what happens with them. I think their fans are going to be really excited. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's awesome. I'm also very excited to see North Dakota State actually, make that jump and see where they can fall in the FBS because they've been basically the cream of the crop over there. Won many national championships in the FCS, so very curious to see what they can bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I over the last couple of years, there's been a player here or there that has been drafted out of North Dakota State, and we've had quarterbacks, we have offensive linemen, defensive ends, and stuff that have come out of there, and they've been very productive, even in the NFL, in being drafted. I think it's going to be really exciting. They are in the Mountain West Conference, right?
I'm actually looking that up right now.
Yeah, Mountain West. They'll be in Mountain West. So, Brian, speaking of Brian Kelly that we just mentioned, he's going to be calling their games. It's going to be really interesting. I think that's really good. I think it's good for them, the Bison. Interesting enough, North Dakota State University, they're pretty much in the Summit League for all their other sports except for wrestling. They wrestle in the Big 12. I didn't know that. And Sacramento State, they're in a conference that we broke down here a month or two ago when we talked about the Mid-American Conference. They were one of those new teams that we talked about, Steve.
Yeah, when we talked about the MAC.
Yep. So that is awesome. I think it's going to be great for them. Imagine if they can win the whole thing in the first year. That would be crazy. So it'll be pretty cool to see what they do, though. Any other news before we get started on the main subject of the show?
No, sir. That's everything.
All right. With that, I want to give a quick shout out to Magic Mike Cards, right? If you need, some sports cards, you want a good deal, reach out to Magic Mike. You can see him on his Whatnot page or TikTok. Definitely check him out. He can give some really good deals.
Magic Mike's cards. Flip that back, let's go. Hands in the air, we're running this show. Sharp cut, shrink wrap, snap, name on the map. We don't hold back. Scoreboard clock runs hot. You blink once, you.
Definitely check out Magic Mike Cards. Very exciting. Gives out great deals. He's had some amazing breaks. Really cool stuff. He does everything: NFL, baseball, basketball, soccer. And for those folks that love Pokemon cards, I think he's getting into that as well. So definitely check him out. All right. Want to give a shout out to him. Well, on to the main subject, right? We're going to be breaking down Ole Miss, right? Ole Miss Rebels football. We're going to be talking about them today. 2006, right? I'm sorry, 2026. I apologize. 2026 Ole Miss Rebels entered the season as one of the most fascinating teams in college football, especially after an amazing coachless run that was geared by Coach Golding, right? After Lane Kiffin leaves the program abruptly at the end of the season, right? For the first time in years, the program is operating without Lane Kiffin at the helm after his departure to LSU. And former defensive coordinator Pete Golding now has full control of one of the most talented rosters in the SEC. The challenge for Golding is significant. Maintain momentum built during Ole Miss playoff run while establishing his own identity as head coach. That is a good question. did we ever figure out what Pete Golding's identity was during the college football playoff? To be honest, I really don't know, but he did put up a hell of a fight. That Miami game was closer than what people give it credit for. I really liked the fight that Ole Miss brought, even though they had an interim head coach at the time. The Rebels are not rebuilding; they are reloading. After a 13-2 finish during the 2025 campaign and reaching the college football playoff, expectations remain sky high in Oxford. Ole Miss returns several cornerstone players, supplemented by another aggressive transfer portal haul and a top 25 recruiting class. The roster features star power, both sides of the football, and enough depth to compete in the SEC's elite programs, right? That's the reality for me when it comes to Ole Miss and their program. They got a lot to be loved. I know we're going to break it down individually, but what do you guys think? Like, do you guys think Ole Miss is going to carry on that momentum? I think so. I think they have a lot to play for. They didn't just look. Ole Miss didn't just make the playoffs and then bowed out. They went all the way to the semifinal. They were a player or two of actually beating Miami at one point. They could have been the ones to go up against Indiana. And their quarterback is a lot to talk about. We'll get into him in a moment, but what do you guys think initially?
So I think Ole Miss is the Oregon Ducks of the SEC. They have a quarterback that has, all the potential, everything you want, showed up in the big moments. The head coach, Pete Golding, I'm excited to watch the guy, honestly. To come in and be, in my opinion, what I look at is like the excuse me, I don't know the good word I'm looking for. Stability. When everything was falling apart, Pete Golding was able to come in and really grab this team and say, "Hey, we got things to play for here. We're still a good football team." He was able to lead that room, right? Like it says a lot about the guy. So I'm excited to see what he can do. To what you were saying, I don't think this team takes a step back. I think they have a hard schedule, but they have everything that you need to continue right where they were last season and make a run. And I think they could definitely make some noise in the SEC this year.
Definitely. Steve, what do you think about the team? Do you think it's going to be noise or is it going to be just deafening silence?
Well, first, I know what their identity was. We're going to put points on the board. That was their identity. Rather, it was Kewan Lacy or Harrison Wallace. So, I mean, that was their identity, especially throughout the playoffs. And that's what they did. I mean, they put up over 30 points in every game, didn't they? If I remember. Oh, well, close, 27 in the final game. But if he averages out, it averages all over 30 points a game in across the playoffs. I think they absolutely are going to make noise. Trent, they brought back the quarterback. Like, they have a head coach who shouldn't quit on them some point throughout the season. I think it's a team with a lot of talent and arguably one of the best running backs in all of college right now.
Yeah, Lacy is we'll definitely break that down. I agree with both of you guys. I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be exciting, especially in the SEC. I think they can compete with like Texas or the Alabamas of the world and maybe even Georgia. Really, the two teams that the top four teams, to be honest, in my opinion, for the SEC still is going to be Georgia. You got Texas, you got Ole Miss, and then you also have Alabama there. Those are the four teams still, in my opinion. I don't think there's another team that really is going to move the needle. Mystic, are you still there or no? Hello? Mystic.
Can you hear me now?
I can definitely hear you.
Dude, I don't know what just happened. I just walked like 10 feet in my house and I lost everything.
Oh, it said you were still here. Very confusing.
It's so wild.
Yeah, it is kind of wild. But yeah, let's get into it. First of all, let's go ahead and talk about the most important position in football, the quarterback, right? Everything begins with senior quarterback Trinidad Chambliss. The former Ferris State transfer emerged as one of college football's biggest stories in 2025. After stepping into a larger role, Chambliss led the Rebels to the college football playoff while showcasing a complete skill set as both a passer and runner. He finished the season with nearly 4,000 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, passes, only 3 interceptions, and more than 500 rushing yards. What makes Chambliss dangerous is his ability, to extend plays and punish defenses when protection breaks down. Listen, if memory serves me right, wasn't there like a last minute play in the Georgia game in the college football playoff where they beat Georgia? I think I was the one that ate crow when I said Ole Miss is going to lose to Georgia. No way is this coachless team going to beat Georgia. And look what happened, right? That's the reality for it. So he possesses excellent pocket awareness, mobility, leadership qualities that has earned the trust of the locker room. Unlike many dual threat quarterbacks, he remains disciplined, right, with the football and rarely puts offenses in bad situations. And he has a lot of fight. He leads the charge. Even from behind, he still brings fight and brings hope to this team. I'm thinking 2026, Chambliss is firmly in the conversation for first team all SEC honors. And I'm going to go ahead and say this, right? I know we talked a big game on Tuesday about Oregon's team and having the number one quarterback room. I'm going to tell you that I think Trinidad Chambliss can give Dante Moore a run for his money. That's what I'm going to tell you. I think that he has a chance of being that number 2 guy in the 2027 draft. With the right snare, if he puts up the same numbers and seeing his ability and what he can do, I think he can be a guy that could be one of those top 2 quarterbacks, in my opinion. What do you guys think about Trinidad Chambliss?
Well, I like the kid a lot. I like what I saw again from him last year. Like I was saying earlier, he has that. I think he has like that moxie to him, where I don't know. I feel like there's moments you just like you think you got the kid, and he's rolling out, making a crazy throw or a crazy run. Like it's gonna be fun to watch this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be in the race for the Heisman. I really do. I think he's going to be a Heisman hopeful this year.
I could see that. What do you think, Steve?
I think he has a lot of talent. I mean, he was a first-year starter. I do think it helps when you have arguably one of the 2 best running backs in the entirety of college, that it takes pressure off of you, even though you run. He was throwing the ball all over the place, so it was. I think it's a good mashup in a good place for him. I'm kind of excited to see the gentleman who's now behind him, and see if they can draw out of some talent out of the both of them. But if he plays like he did last year, he will absolutely be talked about as a first round pick. Now, I don't know if he'll be the second, but definitely a first round pick.
Yeah, listen, with that size and that talent and the strength of arm that he has, especially when you add in all the other skills, for me, it speaks to be one of the top 2 quarterbacks taken. Will he beat Dante Moore? We'll find out. Can he still do it without Lacy, though? I think he can. That's just my opinion. We'll find out what they do this season, though. We got a whole season ahead of us to find out. I'm just excited because I really liked what I saw late in the season last year, to be honest. Especially with all
he still has Lacy.
Yeah, I know he still has them. I'm telling you.
I thought you said.
No, I posed the question because you asked it. Can he do it without those guys? I think he can, is what I'm telling you. We'll find out where he ends at this end of the season, and we'll find out where he goes in the NFL. But I'm telling you right now, I think there's a lot to be had here. Just go watch the tape, and it'll speak for itself. We'll revisit this during the regular season to check in to see how he's doing, though. So we'll definitely do that. All right, next, running back analysis, right? The return of Kewan Lacy may be the biggest offseason victory for Ole Miss. Lacy was one of the most explosive offensive players in the SEC and elected to return to Oxford after securing an NIL agreement. His combination of vision, acceleration, balance, home run speed, speed makes him a nightmare matchup for opposing defenses. The Rebels are expected to lean heavy on Lacy to keep pressure off Chambliss and maintain offensive balance with defense forces to account for Chambliss' mobility. Lacy's frequently finds favorable running lanes and opportunities in space. In addition to that, speaking to the running game, you mentioned that there are other running backs that they have. Steve, name that other running back that they have. Tell me who he is and break it down for me.
Well, I was actually talking about the backup quarterback, but they have Mekhi Frazier and Joshua Dye, who they got in the transfer portal. Mekhi Frazier coming from Michigan State, where he had decent season last year, 500 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He's just kind of a solid contributor. So, but Lacy's gonna be their premier guy. They are going to lean on him and in every way, form, and fashion. I wouldn't even be surprised if you start seeing him more in the passing game this year to show that he can be dynamic in more ways than just handing the ball off.
Well, we will see. I think it's going to be more than just running the ball. I mean, even last season when Lacy was there, when we had the Miami game, I don't remember him handing the ball off every time. I saw him throwing the ball. They had a couple receivers that I remember that were really good. In addition, they had a tight end that they had that was like, he moved like a wide receiver, but he was like the biggest guy you would see. And Decon White, I think, or God, what was his name?
Yeah, that was it.
Decon White. Yeah, that guy was ridiculous. Yeah, that guy was ridiculous. I remember. So I'm excited to see what they have. Do you have any final thoughts about the running backs, Mystic? Do you have any thoughts on the running backs at all?
I mean, the fact that they got this kid returning who basically set the record at Ole Miss for those 24 touchdowns last season. I mean, that's talk about having a blessing in the backfield, right? A guy that you can just hand the ball off. He's going to do something for you. That's just crazy to me. Nice to see, from what you guys are saying, they got some guys in there to help complement Lacy, so he's not doing it all. But, I mean, that dude, I think we need to watch for him to potentially be one of the best, if not the best running back in the nation this year.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. But I know we have a running back. They have a big time running back. Great for them. But they also have some explosive speed in the wide receiver room, in the skill positions, right? Including tight end. The Rebels may have one of the deepest pass catching groups in the conference. Deuce Alexander, Jonte Cook, Darrell Gill, Caleb Cunningham, Traylon Ray provide Ole Miss with combination of speed, route running, big play potential, right? The room was rebuilt through recruiting in the transfer portal and should give Chambliss multiple weapons capable of stretching defenses vertically. The big newcomer is Caleb Cunningham, one of the highest rated recruits to sign with the program in recent years. His size and athletic ability have already generated significant excitement on campus. And their big time tight end that they got in the transfer portal, which I'm kind of excited for them, Caleb Odom, right, represents a unique mismatch problem, standing 6'5", 240 pounds. Odom has the athleticism of a receiver with a frame of traditional SEC tight ends. Expect him to be a big-time major red zone target. Just like Decon White, the tight end I talked about earlier, they got another guy to replace him right there. If they're able to build chemistry very quickly, I think the wide receiver room and the tight end room is going to have a lot of production, even if Lacy's there or not. I think they're gonna be throwing the ball a lot. What do you guys think about the wide receiver room and tight end room?
All right. They also added Jonte Cook the second, who was at Syracuse in Texas the last couple years. Horatio Fields, a redshirt senior who was at Auburn and Wake Forest, and that Auburn name. Don't sleep on the fact that he's from Auburn because they happen to get a certain quarterback from Auburn in Deuce Knight. So there may be a connection between those two in the coming years. Um, and then they also got Isaiah Spencer from Virginia Tech, who was kind of a depth guy who really didn't get to see a whole lot of field time. So they got some speed, they got some big bodies, and as we talked about, Trinidad Chambliss is not afraid to start slinging that ball around. So they got the weapons for him, they got the running back for him. Now just see if they can put it together again.
Definitely, definitely. What do you think, Mystic, about the skill positions, wide receiver, tight end room?
I think what I like is it's kind of a variety. I feel like some of them have some similarities, but I think each one kind of has their own ability to do something better than the other, right? And I think that's what could be maybe the difference for this offense. Because we saw how explosive this offense was last year. I mean, you're telling me you got guys who are more explosive than that. So, yeah, I think there's a big possibility we see Ole Miss have a very, very high scoring offense this year. And it's not just going to be this one guy with, Chambliss is really killing it. No, I think it's going to be a couple guys in the running back we talk about.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think they're going to spread the ball around a lot more than they've had previously in previous years. So it almost kind of reminds me back when they had AJ Brown and DK Metcalf on the same team. I don't know if you guys know that, but they both came from Ole Miss.
That's right.
It kind of reminds me of that. You had two star-studded guys. You can pass it either way, do different things for you, and a running game added to it. Kind of reminds me. So I'm kind of excited for it. There is one position group that I do have a question mark for. That is the offensive line. The offensive line remains the biggest question mark on the roster. Ole Miss's talent and experience has experience and talent, but replacing NFL caliber players is never easy for any team, to be honest. Several transfers and returning contributors are expected to compete for starting jobs, and group possesses plenty of size and physicality. That's not the concern. The talent is not even the concern. The concern is continuity. How quickly can these guys get together and build continuity and chemistry together to be able to compete with some of these elite against some of these complete elite defenses? Georgia has one of the hardest hitting defenses in college football today, even with their current roster. They always put out a great defense. Alabama has a very good, strong defense as well. I think how quickly that offensive line can gel together is going to make the difference and really help out the offensive firepower that this team has.
Man, I'm with you. I think this is the biggest question. The more I look at it, I'm concerned because they had to replace both tackles, but they were able to keep the center and the guards there. And it sounds like the center is really the anchor of that room for those guys. He leads that offensive line, which is what you want, right? So I'm very torn about it, but it's like at the same time, they didn't just go get guys who were like, sophomores, really young guys. It looks like they got like some junior seniors that have maybe been around for a minute. So it's like a possibility, but I mean, to your point, they're gonna have to get there quick. This isn't like you got some lackadaisical schedule. Like, no, they got a pretty tough schedule. They got to hit it hard, running fast. You can't fall behind in the SEC because there's no way you're going to get them games back once you lose them.
Absolutely. Steve, what thoughts do you got on the offensive line? Big question marks, or are they solid?
No, of course they have question marks. We have replaced both tackles. I mean, they had some young kids they're going to be moving up, some juniors and sophomores that they're a sophomore and a senior moving into spots, And then they got a couple transfers. Tommy Kingsler, who came from UM, and Enoch Wangoe, I think is how Wangoe, I think that's how you say his name, from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna hope that those guys can come up and compete and give some competition for those starters, so the best five can get on the field to block a high flying offense.
Hey, sorry, I want to correct something I said. I misspoke on that. I flipped my words around. They got a bunch of sophomores to transfer, not a bunch of junior seniors. So it's like they got some younger guys that, if they develop, will probably stick around for a little bit.
Mm. Yeah, very well. I definitely agree with that. It's going to be a big time question mark, but with all teams, you got to have a defense, right? And this defense, I think, is going to be a big strength for them. And what I want to say about their defense, Pete Golding's defense, if you look at how he ran before and what he's done, it's built from the inside out. This year's front should continue that philosophy. Cam Franklin headlines the unit as one of the most physical, imposing defensive linemen in the conference. His combination of size, power, athleticism give Ole Miss a disruptive force capable of both run and pass defense, right? While Will Eccles, I'm sorry if I can't pronounce his last name, I apologize, anchors the interior and provides valuable experience and leadership. The Rebels also have added young talent through recruiting, including highly regarded defensive end Landon Barnes, who I'm kind of excited about, who has potential to contribute immediately. While Ole Miss will not possess the depth of Georgia or Texas up front, the group is talented enough to hold down its own against the SEC opponents along the defensive line. What do you guys think about the defensive line? Is it kind of a little bit better than what we're seeing, in the confidence level of the offensive line? Because I'll be honest, the offensive line, I kind of gave them a B, but defensive line, I'm a little bit more hopeful that they'll be able to gel quicker. So I gave them a B plus at the defensive line position. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like that. I'd say really I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, looking at it here, compared to, let's see, 3, 4. I feel like equal concern, in my opinion. Yeah, you have that really good anchor in there, right? But like, you have just as many transfers, maybe more than you have returning. Yeah, it looks like you have 4 returning, and you have 5 guys that you got transferred to come in for defensive tackle, defensive ends, and stuff. So, like, curious to see it, but I mean, Golding is a defensive guy, so if anybody can get that unit really, up off the ground running, again, it's easier to go tackle a guy and disrupt a play than it is to run that play early in the season as well.
Yep. What do you think, Steve?
My only question is who's rushing the passer? Because they have a bunch of guys that, like, maybe they can stop the run, but they're not really like sack producers, right? Like Cam Franklin, okay, he's a junior. He can produce a little bit. Sir Taryn Perkins, okay, he's okay. He produces a little bit, but they don't really have that premier pass rusher that I thought they might try to go and find, and they just brought in some guys who might be able to generate a little bit. So we'll see what happens. But I have questions on if they're going to be able to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, that is a good question. They brought in talent from like Alabama, like Jordan Renaud at defensive end. Um, I don't know. I don't think he's gonna be a guy that really can put up that production. That is gonna be a good question. But the biggest thing is I do expect them to be physical enough to kind of withstand, and maybe Pete Golding can use his coaching hat and get them where they need to be honest. The linebacker group, though, I think is a upgrade from the trenches, right? It's arguably pretty much the strength of the defense. You got and I apologize if I tear this guy's first name up. Suntarine Perkins. He returns as the centerpiece of the entire unit and is one of the premier linebackers in college football. His speed, versatility, ability to impact games in multiple ways makes him very makes him very valuable for that part. Perkins can rush the passer, defend the run, drop into coverage, allows Golding tremendous flexibility when designing defensive packages. Opposing offenses must account for Perkins at any point. I expect Perkins to be an All-American candidate and one of the leaders of Ole Miss. I'm going to go ahead and say that room with Perkins, it looks much better than what the defensive line does and the offensive line. I kind of more hopeful when I'm looking at the linebacker room.
Well, he was who I was kind of talking about. Like he plays more on the defensive line as a DN than he does the linebacker as a linebacker. Like last year he had 4.5 sacks. Now the year before that he was good. He had 10.5 sacks, but like there was a drop off there. Now he gets a lot of tackles for loss and he gets a lot of QB hits, but like those sacks, I need those numbers to come up.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. What do you think, Mystic? What do you think about the linebacker room?
Hmm. Hmm. I'm kind of. I'm. The more I'm going into this, the more I feel like there is some questions for this defensive unit, and I feel like it's going to have to be anchored by its secondary, which is going to be pretty hard to do when we're talking about who's going to get that pressure on the quarterback, right?
Mhm.
They're going to need some of these guys to come in and just really take control of these linebacker positions and say, "I'm the guy," and boom, I'm here to stay, type of thing. Because I'm not convinced that you got guys in the middle or in your linebacking core in general, not even your edges, just your linebackers that are going to be what you need them to be in this scheme. Because it sounds like they're what, a 4-2-5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they play a lot of nickel defense.
So yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be very interesting to see. I think this goes right in line with my offensive line, defensive line. I think they're all in that question mark area for me. I don't really see anything that's like, wow, they got a guy who's really going to make that unit just great, no problem. I think they got some good, some talent, but like nothing that really is just like, oh yeah.
Well, I mean, you look at their linebacker room. They have a guy named Keaton Thomas, for example, who I believe is still there. He had
Yeah, I
105.
was just about to bring them
Yeah,
back.
but it says
Yeah,
the transfer though is my point though. Like nothing that like
Yes.
nothing returning is my point. So that's why I said these transfer guys are just gonna have to go in and say, "Hey, I'm that dude. Like, get out of my way."
Well, Keaton's been, I was going to bring that up on the background. Keaton's been with Baylor and West Virginia, and he's had 100 tackles in both places and
yeah,
7 tackles for loss in both places.
Yeah.
Both these transfers, if you look at them, they are tackling machines. And that is what you need in a nickel defense because they're going to have to play in the zones, and then
Yep.
they're going to have to be able to tackle at before the running back can get to that level. They're going to have to hit those gaps. And him averaging legitimately, he had 7 tackles for loss in both seasons, and over 100 tackles, which tells me he's getting these guys at the line of scrimmage and not allowing them to keep running. So between Luke Farrelly and Keaton Thomas, sorry, like I think they went and got 2 really good linebackers for the middle
Yeah.
of that nickel defense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree, and maybe he'll mix it up more now that he has a full off season. Maybe he has packages that he's going to put together where there's some players that are not going to be your standard middle linebacker or weak side linebacker, or whatever, and they're going to maybe use them as a joker or something like that, and it's going to create a lot more production. I think I have to wait to really justify this defense until I actually see a whole season in motion under Pete Golding. You know what I mean? You're limited when your head coach may have a different philosophy. You're limited on what you can and cannot do. Now he's the head coach. He's the defensive mind that stayed there. He was the defensive coordinator. He played a good game during the playoffs. Give him a whole season as the head coach. Let's see what happens. The secondary, right? The secondary is talented, but carries some questions as well. You have transfers such as Jonel Aguero, Sharif Denson, Antonio Kite, bring significant experience and athletic ability to the defensive backfield. The Rebels also added young talent through recruiting, help improving depth across the board. The challenge is consistency. Ole Miss faces several elite quarterbacks during SEC play. The secondary must avoid, surrendering explosive play. So basically, keep the players in front of them. Don't give up the big play. That's the philosophy. In the defensive back, if the defensive backs can develop chemistry quickly, the group is potential to become one of the better units in the conference. They have a lot of talent there. They don't have the chemistry yet. They don't have the continuity yet. There's some question marks. What do you guys think about the secondary?
I think it's what you just said. It's the same with the linebacker room, right? It's all transfers. The only starter that's a returning is Antonio Kite.
Yeah.
Joseph Edwin, free safety, transfer. Jonel Aguro, transfer, senior transfer. Sharif Denson, like you said, transfer. Like Jalen Crawford, transfer. Like you're gonna have to find the chemistry. But again, it's a defensive minded coach in a nickel defense, right? So as long as they can play their zones and stick with the integrity of the defense with a defensive minded head coach, I think they'll be fine. It's easier in my opinion, it's easier for a secondary to figure it out if they have the right signal caller. So as long as their signal caller's good, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that Jalen Crawford pickup, the guy, I mean, he has had back-to-back seasons with 15 total tackles, 1 interception. I want to say his 2024 tape was probably better. He had 7 passes defended and whatnot, but no sacks or anything. Isn't enough. These guys are not tackling machines, but cornerbacks really aren't normally. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting, what they do with the secondary and how quickly they develop, though. But they definitely have some talent, right? I'll definitely give them that for sure. Any other thoughts before I move on to recruiting?
No, I mean I'm kind of in consensus with you guys on this. Got some good transfers, and they got some good pieces, and some players that can really be impactful in the secondary. It's just when they put it all together, right? Are they going to be in the right place at the right time? The person running the defense going to make sure everything's lined up right. So
yeah, the way I'm looking at it is don't bend. I'm sorry, you can bend, but don't break, right?
Absolutely.
Hold the players in front of you. Don't give up the big play. Slow the offense as much as you can, and let your offense score as many freaking points as they possibly can. I think that's the plan for this coming up season.
Absolutely makes sense.
But I think they have the talent to do it, especially on the offensive side. But the recruiting, it hasn't stopped them from recruiting. Ole Miss once again finished with a top 25 recruiting class despite the coaching transition. The 2026 class featured several highly regarded prospects, including Caleb Cunningham, Dorian Barney, Jace Matthews, Craig Tutt, Demarius Yates, and Landon Barnes. As we mentioned before, with the different positions, they brought in a lot of young talent. The emphasis is speed, athleticism, defensive versatility, which I really like, traits that align closely with Golding's vision for the program. Perhaps most importantly, Ole Miss continues to recruit at a level that allows it to remain competitive with the SEC while supplementing the roster through the transfer portal. The combination of high school recruiting and portal success has become one of the real defining characteristics of Ole Miss's entire building strategy. The 2027 class is already showing positive momentum, indicating that the recruiting has remained stable despite the coaching change. It's going to be a really interesting season. What do you guys think about their style of recruiting and basically their transfer portal agenda, essentially?
I like it. It looks like he's been pretty aggressive. Really trying to land means just a key piece on each level, right?
Yeah.
A receiver, get an edge rusher, get a top running back, get a defensive lineman who's 6'6" and looks like he's a monster, get a good safety, get a good corner. Like really just being consistent and grabbing those pieces over time. Like I like it. I like it. I really do. It was something about Pete Golding and again how he moved when Kiffin left. I like the guy. I really do. I'm not a huge Ole Miss guy. I don't care for a lot of SEC teams. A lot of people know my SEC teams, the Florida Gators. So I don't really care for this squad, but I like Golding a lot. I think he has a lot of good things coming for this program, and I hate to say it, but a lot of success in the road ahead. And you can just see the way he's moving with this organization that he definitely has a plan.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. One thing I just want to point real quick before Steve goes, Ole Miss has already in 2027 recruiting cycle, they already have a top 20 recruiting class already. They're ranked 20 overall right now, and it's not even been completed yet. And that being said, in addition, instead of like in 2026, 9 out of however many recruits they had came from Mississippi, right? If you look at who they've recruited and from where, it's like balanced. It's like 3 or 4 recruits from all different types of states. There's not one state that dominates the other with the amount of recruits that they bring in. I like that. I like that they're not worried about, appeasing their their in-state talent all the time. Go out and get your guys. And that's what it looks like they're doing. And I like that type of style. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think their transfer portal was the strength of their recruiting for this year. Like their high school recruiting was good. I didn't necessarily think it was a great crop of kids, but we'll see how they develop. Their transfer portal was where it was at for me. I think they brought in a good influx of starters through the transfer portal that are going to bolster a team that was really good last year. That I think's biggest downfall was that its head coach ditched them and left them just kind of laying in the wind, and they had to pick up the pieces and figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a year where you just said it. Your head coach just ditched and left them. Granted, Ole Miss is saying they fired him on the tarmac, but the fact that you were on the tarmac in the first place, right? Who does that? Why didn't you just tell LSU to, hey, let's wait until the end of the season officially, and then yeah, I'll take your job. Why did they just do that? You know what I mean? It's so dumb. What he did. But the reality for me is that this transition year, yeah, it's not a top 10 recruiting class. I didn't expect it, especially losing NFL talent and losing your head coach and everything. But having a top 25 recruiting class still without Lane Kiffin being there, I think it's still good. It still shows that the program itself is still strong. I'm kind of excited. I think that run in the playoffs really helped them, especially in the recruiting stage, because a lot of players were probably like, wait a minute, they still have talent. And Pete Golding did a great job. I wouldn't mind. I can always transfer the year later. You know what I mean? I kind of think recruits looked at it that way. But let's, enough about recruiting. Let's get down to it. Ole Miss faces one of the most challenging schedules in college football. That's the truth. You got matchups against LSU, Florida, Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, Auburn, Mississippi State. That will determine whether whether Ole Miss will return to college football playoffs or not. Right? That's the question. The showdown against LSU will attract national attention because of its, because it pits Pete Golding against Lane Kiffin. So that game's going to be huge. That's going to be like a revenge game, depending on which way you look at it. Either Lane Kiffin gets revenge or Ole Miss gets revenge. That's really going to be the biggest thing. The game also has major SEC championship and college football playoff indications. So there's that. The good news for Ole Miss is that the roster appears capable of competing with every team on the schedule. The offense should remain among SEC's best, while the defense has enough recruiting talent to avoid significant drop-off. There are some question marks, but it could definitely be handled. Will Ole Miss be able to compete against Georgia or Texas? That's a question. I think that those are the two teams that I have questions. Will they be able to compete against them? And, we'll have to see what happens. My final prediction, I expect them to be a 10-2, maybe an 11-1 team, possibly. Maybe finish in the top 4 of the SEC and have high chance of probably will make the college football playoff again. That's what I think. Are they capable of making a deep playoff run? Anything can happen. Last year, I think, was the most surprising for me. They're an outsider. I would say they're a dark horse to do it again. That's what I'll say. What do you guys think? What's your projection for Ole Miss?
Man. Oh, man. I can see this team being a 7-5 team.
Wow, 7-5?
Hang on. I could see this team being, an 11-1, 11-2, or whatever it is, if you will. 11-2 team. I really think, I hate to say it, it's just weird how things work out. I think week 3 is going to tell you how that season is going to go. If they can really, shake off the evil that is Lane Kiffin and LSU, I think they go on a run and they get a chance, right? I'm not saying it's going to be easy. You're talking about going to Florida. You're talking about going to Vanderbilt. You're talking about going to Texas. And then you got, Georgia coming to you. And on the majority of those games, there's a possibility they could all be night games. Like, it's crazy the pressure that this team's going to be under. But I think Pete Golding is the guy to lead this crew and have potentially a really, really good year against, like we talked about, one of the tougher schedules we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I think they the SEC is a tough schedule no matter which way you look at it, to be honest. It's one of the most competitive conferences along with the Big Ten. I just think that they're going to perform better than just the 7-5 team. That's just my opinion. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I agree with you, Ollie. I think this is a team that we're going to be talking about making a push in the playoffs again. I think they showed their resilience last year. Yes, I know they lost a bunch of pieces, but I think the core of that team is still there overall, and its leader is still there. So we'll see. I think we'll see another push into the playoffs, and maybe they surprise the world that Lane Kiffin was holding them back.
Hot take. That's a hot take. I think Lane Kiffin was holding them back. But that's just my opinion. It's going to be really interesting. I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm excited for Ole Miss because I'm not really like the biggest fan, but I'm excited to see what the Lane Kiffin less era means for Ole Miss. You know what I mean? Because Ole Miss over the years, they had a team here or there, but they never been able to really be that consistent powerhouse. They just had a deep run in the playoffs. I kind of want to see if Pete Golding is that guy. Is he that guy to bring consistency? If he does it again and has another deep playoff run, let's say a semifinal, maybe he doesn't get to the final, but he loses in the semifinal, right? That to me that means consistency. You could see him being that regular team competing for SEC championships, competing for national championships. It will be very, very interesting. So
You know what I like about that statement, though, Ollie? We'll see how he does. Ole Miss, I think, last year put a precedence on their team that it's the players. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It's the players. Even though, like I said, I do think Kiffin was holding them back a little bit. Without him, they made it all the way to the semifinals in a close game, right?
yeah,
They beat Georgia, who I think most people had as a contender for the championship. Like, I think they proved that as long as the coaching doesn't get in the way, they're going to make a run.
yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, look at it this way. We're talking about a Lane Kiffin team that I mentioned earlier that you had DK Metcalf, you had AJ Brown, right? And even with all that talent that they had on that team then, it wasn't enough to make the deep run like they did last year with a lesser talented team, right? So sometimes you just got to let loose and cut the cord and let your players be players rather than holding them like a leash at sometimes. That's my opinion. I don't really know exactly what all of Ole Miss's issues were with Lane Kiffin over the years because I haven't studied them that much, to be honest. But looking at it from the outside, that's how I view it. And then in addition, you know, I think they actually finally have something that they didn't have those years when they had DK Metcalf and they had AJ Brown. They have a quarterback. They have a quarterback that I really believe in Trinidad Chambliss. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this. It's your fault, Steve. It's your fault. Because in one of our earlier episodes, or maybe it was backstage, we were talking about Trinidad Chambliss, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And I started looking at him more, and I was like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. There's talent there. He has an arm. He does a lot of things well, and he has big playability. Especially, he doesn't give up on the game. I think that's like my biggest thing I like about him, right? We're talking about we're fans of a team in the NFL that you can tell when your quarterback doesn't give up on a play, right? You can tell when he does it, right? You can see exactly where he gives up. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, Trinidad Chambliss doesn't give up on plays. You go look at the end of the Georgia versus Ole Miss game in the playoffs. Go look at the very end of the game. See what happens. Right? It almost happened again against Miami. Right? So for me, I like those type of quarterbacks, and I think he's one of them. I kind of have more higher hopes for Ole Miss than maybe some of the others do. Your final thoughts, Steve, or it's not Steve, I'm sorry, Mystic. Mystic, any final thoughts on Ole Miss?
My final thoughts were I think this team has everything you need from just because of I think who the head coach is. I think he keeps this team so level and stable through some adversity that I would mark Ole Miss as a dark horse to win a national championship this year. That's where I think it is because of the quarterback play, because of the head coach, the weapons that they have. I think they have a real possibility of surprising people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree. I agree with that. They have some big playability. It's going to be really interesting. Let's get into the bottom line. Well, it's been an interesting one. Another breakdown in the books. We broke down Ole Miss. Exciting question marks on defense, but exciting team. I think they're going to be one of the top offenses coming out of the SEC and running into another college football playoff. It'll be very interesting. But let's break down final thoughts of the show, man. It's been a great breakdown. What do you got for us, Steve? I know you were cooking something up that you were going to bring up.
So I had a question, but I'll do my final thoughts and then I'll ask the question. Ultimately, I think this is a team that went to the transfer portal and tried to find answers for what it was lacking last season. I do expect them, like I said, to make a push for a national championship this year. And at least I think they're going to be a pain in the ass for whoever they have to play this year. My question is, and I want to see the answers in the chat, and then from you two, if you want to answer, if Lane Kiffin does not leave or get fired / same thing, do you think they still have a chance at winning a national championship last year?
I do not.
What was that, Mystic? Go ahead.
I do not. But that's just because of my beliefs with Kurt Signetti.
Look, I don't think Ole Miss makes the semifinal if he was still the head coach. I think you might have been looking at, maybe he wins the first game but loses the second. You know what I mean? Maybe he loses to Georgia or somebody like that. Look, the reality for me is I think Lane Kiffin, he comes off as a coach that I think he likes to have all control and pretend to be a player's coach. And the reason I say that is because he just the way that people give him credit, I see him in games holding on to the cards for too long. And at some point, you just have to have the faith to tell your team, you guys know what you have to do, go do it, right? And let them be the players that they are. When he left, that team flipped upside down was a complete different team. I had more belief in their offense. I had more belief in their defense to be able to hold it down. Did I think they could beat Georgia? No, I didn't, even though I thought that they had maybe a chance to do something that a lot of people didn't think they could do. I also would tell you that I didn't think they were going to get as far as they did, being the fact that they had an interim head coach and they had to kind of piece together a coaching staff because they had people that left to go with Lane Kiffin. It was kind of sad to see what happens to them, but I don't know. I don't really know. I'm going to go ahead and say no. I don't think they get as far as they did with him, to be honest. So I kind of think that played in their favor because, coaches on the opposing teams didn't really know how to defend Ole Miss because they didn't know what Pete Golding's tendencies would be as a head coach. You have that advantage means something. So that's my answer. I'm interested to see what everybody else thinks in the comments or in the chat or the comments at the bottom of this show. So Mystic, what are your final thoughts?
I think my final thoughts are I appreciate everyone taking the time to come watch our special episodes. You know, it's not every day that you get people that want to actually take the time out of their day. You know, everyone has a life and the busy things they do, and you know, you guys take the time to sit down and watch us for anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. So shout out to you guys. We appreciate you, and we will continue to do our best to put out the best content to keep you guys locked in.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. For everybody that's at home watching this game, it's going to be Thursday, right? Big game at 10 p.m. Go USA. USA is playing Turkey, so 10 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Can't wait to watch that game. If you guys are watching the World Cup, it's been kind of exciting. And for the everybody part of part of the Army, if you know, I believe, go USA. That's what I will say. Shout out to everybody. Make sure you hit the like button. Check out our next exclusive video here on 4th and 10U. Again, share it with your friends. Share the channel. We're trying to grow. We have some great giveaways once we hit 100 subscribers. I cannot wait for that. It's going to be fun. And I can't wait till the next one. Until then, y'all have a wonderful day.